So like the Army base is a good example.
Sure.
We already were under contract, we'd already started, so under this provision we believe we get to finish it, and that contract with the developers and the Prologis and the people who are developing the port, that protects this project and we can continue to fund the staff until this project is done. Is that about right?
Mr. Blackwell, you want to add to that?
That's right. I would just say more broadly speaking, the projects that we have been working on fall into three categories. One category is what we know is actually going to move forward, and the mayor, I think, stated that well. That's projects that have contractual obligations that we've entered into and that we're required to implement from a statutory point of view. The second category is stuff that we think will move forward, and the reason I have that category is because the legislation is actually vague in some places about
what
can move forward and what won't be able to move forward. And so that category of projects are things where we've done a substantial amount of work, where we may have done some money on environmental review and CEQA and stuff like that, and done the design work, and the first phase is done, but it's not completely locked up.
And Mr. Mayor, question, something that the legislation is vague, but I hate to ask this, but is that a way to challenge it in court? Is this over? I mean, is that...
Yeah, I'm not interested in challenging court. I think what we need to do is, you have to remember that the legislature didn't expect to eliminate redevelopment. That's why they did these two acts, right? They did the one, we eliminated, but we'll let you continue if you give us more money for the schools. And like I said, okay, we put $40 million aside in the budget, we're ready to go. We were like moving down the road with all these new projects because we assumed that we were going to be able to continue to go. And so that's these gray area projects. Like we've made preliminary deals, we've already bought the land, it's been budgeted, we've done phase one, and now we're like, okay, so now what do we do? Because nobody expected redevelopment was going to go away on February 1st. So even the legislator's not particularly happy, and the governor can't be that happy because now he has no ongoing revenue stream. He'll have maybe a one-time amount of money from just selling all our property, but that makes no sense. If you sell it all at once, it's a fire sale. And a lot of the property we bought in neighborhoods that are really blighted, and we bought them so that we put the infrastructure so people would buy them. So it's not like you're going to get a lot of money on those projects. So, and in fact, it just may keep those neighborhoods affected and blighted for longer. So we're very concerned about that. So, but we want people to know if there was a project that started for the most part, we're moving ahead, and you'll see that in the list that we gave council of which projects we think are just moving ahead, and then there's some that will be in this gray area that I'm just going to move ahead on because, you know, we all assume that we're going to continue. We have the $40 million set aside. We think the Steinberg bill, for instance, on affordable housing will go through, then that might be good for this next year and the 8 projects that are halfway done. It's not good for long-term affordable housing. The state has to decide who's then going to handle affordable housing in the future. And the reason that Oakland is doing so well and is so diverse is because affordable housing has allowed us to do all sorts of housing for regular working people and low-income working people. So we're not like Manhattan. We're not a city of just very rich people and public housing. We have a whole bunch of in-between housing.
I remember Henry Gardner said this to me about 13 years ago, that we use redevelopment funds to remove, for example, crack houses in East Oakland and a lot of... So we really don't still have a full scope of this impact, do we? And we're still feeling it, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and you know, so now we have to, maybe I just can't go out and buy them and throw them down anymore. Now I'm going to have to go after the owners and lien them. It's going to take much longer. It's much easier sometimes to just go and buy these houses up and tear them down and build something new.
Mayor Quan, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.